Hey there, folks, and welcome back to the I Am CDB project. I, of course, am your host, CDB. You are not. And it's a rare, during the week, head shave. I figure it's the evening on Monday. I have a little bit of time, thank goodness. Just came from outside, and I'll just give my head a shave this evening and chat. These head shaving videos are usually more about me just blabbing, sort of therapeutic in some ways. And shaving and just sort of spouting off, if you will. Today I'm going to use the HeadBlade, which I like. It's been a long time since I've used the HeadBlade, but I always liked it when I used it. My complaint about the HeadBlade, if anything, has always been around the ears. It's a little more difficult to maneuver because you're just so used to using a regular razor, but we'll give it a shot. I'm going to use the Shannon's 25th Street Lime, which is a wonderful bright lime scent. It's definitely warm weather time. And so I'm very much liking lime products, although, you know, I like them all the time. I don't care anything about season, but definitely it's nice during the warm weather to use some citrusy products, just refreshing and so forth. This past weekend, it was terrible. It rained every day, so wasn't much time for outside activities. I managed to cut some grass and so forth, but really that was about it. There wasn't really much time for outside anything. Cut Saturday morning when it wasn't raining, but it rained pretty much the rest of the time, sometimes very heavy. Went to see the Avengers movie yesterday, which I gotta tell you, and I don't want to, I'm gonna try not to spoil, but just a note. The Avengers movies, the last two, they have completely neutered the Hulk and made him useless. I mean, they might as well kill the Hulk off at this point because he's absolutely useless. Basically, he's stripped of everything. He does nothing. Useless. And so it's sort of sad to me, you know, growing up with Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk on television, and Bill Bixby, I think was his name, played David Banner, and you know the Hulk did stuff, and now the Hulk does nothing. It's pathetic. It's a long movie, good movie, but not really digging the Hulk. He's pretty much useless at this point. So no spoiler there, because if you saw the first movie, he was pretty much useless, and he's equally as useless in this film, as far as I'm concerned. I don't like the direction of that. But on to more important things. I don't know if I spoke on this Friday or not. I may have a little bit. But the latter part of last week, or early part of last week, I can't recall, Facebook banned a number of folks from their platform, like Milo and Louis Farrakhan, and I think a guy named Paul Watson, who's from InfoWars. Alex Jones is sort of somebody that's with his organization, maybe Alex Jones as well. And so there were a lot of people, you know, raising concerns about that. And first of all, the media said far-right extremists, that most of their headlines read far-right extremists banned from Facebook, which Louis Farrakhan is not on the right by any stretch of the imagination. And so I'm not quite sure why they ran with the right-wing extremist headline, because he certainly is not. But most of the people they banned were on the right side of the spectrum. And in many cases, it wasn't for anything specifically. It was just a broad term hate. And one of the individuals in particular, Paul Watson or something to that effect, I don't know that he falls into those categories. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, I'm a free speech person. I'm from the old sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt me sort of school. And I think we could use more of that in today's world. But sadly, we've gotten to the point where everyone's offended by everything, seemingly. And sticks and stones doesn't apply because everybody seems to be crippled by everything today, which it's really not a positive development in my view. I am very, very, very concerned. And I recommend that you follow a journalist by the name of Tim Pool. He's got a YouTube channel, I think it's called Timcast. And he is not a guy of the right. He is a libertarian in terms of free speech. And just happens to increasingly be reporting on, folks being banned who are of the right persuasion politically. But he's got some very interesting thoughts on the issue, and he's certainly worthy of following and doing good work as far as I'm concerned. Because this is a really slippery slope with this characterizing everything as hate, everything that, and sometimes it's an arbitrary sort of decision, and they're sort of coming down on one side of the aisle politically. And I'm of the opinion that we can decide now if someone is calling directly for violence or directly for encouraging people to mistreat other people and commit acts of violence, that is not covered by, First Amendment, in my estimation. But just because something is, we don't like it, or it seems to be hateful, I'm not in favor of banning those things, because I may have touched on this before, but wouldn't you rather know who the hateful people are? Wouldn't you rather know? So in my opinion, it's best to have them out there so you can know who they are, know who not to associate with, rather than silencing them and driving them on to more extremist type folks, because the only type of folks they can communicate with are extremists. So as I've said before in my other videos, once you drive them that way, there's no return. There's no way for them to ever make a change, because they'll only be around the most extreme of people, because there's nowhere else for them to communicate, because they've essentially been exiled or excommunicated from every other place. And so I don't see this as a positive development. As a more libertarian-minded person, I'm all about free speech and free expression, other than is the case with the things I mentioned, like if you're calling directly for violence and things of that nature. I do not encourage that sort of thing. Or if you're, if you're out and you're encouraging mobs to burn people's house down, that's not covered by free speech sort of thing, when you're directing people to do things that are illegal. Something else I want to touch on today. I saw Senator Cory Booker had tweeted today, and it was sort of his platform for gun control, which is all well and good. I'm glad that he's putting his position out there so that viewers and voters certainly can decide. But one of the things that I saw in it, and this is it's probably the fifth time I've seen people who are on the other side, not the other side, because I'm not against some level of control. We have control in place now. We have backgrounds. We have a lot of things. So I'm not anti-control to a certain extent, but I've seen at least 4 or 5 times now politicians come out and in their platform say, I'm in favor of a bump stock ban. And the bump stock ban went into effect, I believe, in March, if not April. Already, it is illegal to own, produce, manufacture, sell a bump stock. Has been for a couple of months now, and yet these politicians keep including it for whatever reason in their platform, as Cory Booker did today. And that tells me one of two things. Either he doesn't know that the bump stock went into effect, which I doubt because he probably voted on it, or he's putting that in there just as additional things that he thinks going to, an additional point that he thinks going to hook people who are of that persuasion, like, oh, that's one more, yeah, we got to ban, because they won't know it's been banned. So basically he'll be praised for calling for something that's already been done, which is idiotic in my opinion. I think the way it was phrased on the tweet I saw was ban high-capacity magazines, bump stocks, and assault weapons. Well, bump stocks are already banned, so there's no need to keep saying that. And my feeling is it's probably deliberate. There's no way he doesn't know at this point. And if he doesn't know, he should know. So either way you go, if he doesn't know, he should know. Because he's a member of Congress and he's advocating for, gun control and he's running for president. So he should know. And if he does know, it's sort of misleading because he's acting as if it hasn't been done. And I think that's probably deliberate. It is deliberate to appeal to folks who really and strongly believe in gun control at a level probably greater than I do. And it's meant to drive those people to the poll, and he knows good and well, most likely, that it's already been done. Disingenuous. It's either disingenuous or he's ignorant. Both cases are unforgivable. If you're going to take a stand and you are a sitting member of Congress and you're going to essentially grandstand on the issue, at least know what you're talking about. And a lot of times, like I think I made a video recently where I encourage people, please check these people. Do not assume what's coming out of their mouth is correct. I think I've said that a number of times. I can't urge you enough to check these people because they will outright lie. They will try to deceive. I see it more and more by the day because, again, I'm following the Cory Bookers, Kamala Harris, Bernie, and the people on the right, Donald Trump, and I'm following all these people. And you see things regularly that just aren't true. Like Trump, for example, will tweet about the wall and how much has been done, and nothing really substantive has been done. A lot of it was already had been. The things that have been done were already underway, most of it during the Obama administration. And so it's disingenuous, and they say things that are patently false on both sides. It's just, I'm seeing, because of the folks on the left are running for president, I'm seeing a higher volume of it. It's just nonstop because they're just constantly, and they're throwing things in there that in my view are deliberately misleading. So you owe it to yourself. If you see something that doesn't seem right, check it. And I know we've gone through this thing with fake news and Russia and all that, but I got to tell you, even coming from the mouths of the politicians, the same people who holler about fake news, and some forms of the media themselves, who take great offense at being called fake news. However, they're putting forth pieces as factual pieces that are in fact opinion. There are activists masquerading as straight news journalists. It is a mess in the media scene. So I encourage you, double check when you see something that doesn't seem like it passes the sniff test. It's worth your time to do so. Double check the people you like, the people you don't like. It's worthy of your time to do so, in my estimation. The last thing I want to say is, I saw also on Cory Booker's platform today where he tweeted something that said, if we have to have a license to drive a car or something I'm paraphrasing, but essentially it went on to say you should need to have a license to own a firearm. Well, my point or counterpoint would be to say, I'm pretty sure I've seen Cory Booker take a stand against voter ID laws, and states pass voter ID laws to make sure the people who are voting is who they say they are. And Cory Booker is one of the type of folks who say, that's voter suppression, it makes it too hard for them to vote. You can't take a stand that a voter ID is voter suppression, but then out of the other corner of your mouth, advocate for a license to own a firearm, because both of those are rights. All right. And if you're going to make the case that obtaining an ID for voting is suppression, then obtaining a license to own a firearm, you would also be suppressed in the pursuit of that right as well. You cannot reconcile those two logically. So if I take Cory Booker's logic on voter suppression, then you cannot hold the same point of view and be intellectually honest that yes, you should own a license for a firearm. Now, I happen to have a license. A lot of people do. But that said, I don't know how you can say that on one hand it's wrong, but then on the other hand it's right, just because we happen to agree with this particular side. It's the same thing. If it's difficult to vote because of a license, and you're saying that's suppression, then getting a license to hold a firearm is also suppression. There's no way to separate the logic there. And so, again, this is why I urge you, listen to what they say. Don't just listen to what people parrot back that they say, the media. Read it for yourself, read their own comments, and try to get the entire comment and not just a snippet, because a lot of times you'll find that you are being misled. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will post a link, if I remember it, to the Tim Pool, who I really suggest you follow if you're a libertarian-minded sort of person. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I've been your host, CDB. You're not. God bless.